Put it in and just not have that problem having to delete stuff every single time you want to put a new game on or something like that, because that started to get old fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that hard to do. It's like you had to like unscrew the thing, pop the thing off, slide the new one in. But the downfall was it's like, oh, now I gotta kind of re-download everything on there. And it's been probably sitting like that for the last 5 days, and it's only downloaded maybe like a third of everything.
Oh, damn. Well,
so, I mean, like, not everything has to go back on there right now, but just some of the, there's like certain games you want. You kind of want like your fighting games, because you want to be like, oh, hey, let's play some Street Fighter. Oh, yeah, well, it's got to download 30 gigs. Hold on a second. You know what I mean? You don't want that to happen. And it was, the other thing, too, is I bought just one for my Xbox, and of course you can just get the external hard drive, so all you got to do is plug it in, set it next to it, and it looks cool anyways, because it's got the original, like, green Xbox color.
Well, as depressing as this may sound, I can already tell your week was a little bit more eventful than mine. I'm kind of glad.
Your week was really eventful. You were installing hard drives.
Yeah. Well, no, it's kind of like, usually when we come in here, I usually might have like, a funny thing happened this week or whatever. Just, I literally got fucking nothing. I'm glad there's like media, as shallow as this make me sounds, I'm glad there's like media or something happening in entertainment each day. So it's like, it gives me something to talk about on the podcast, because my week was literally like, what'd you do? Well, I made a ham and cheese sandwich.
Wasn't very good. I'm just going to get that out of the way first. It was just
okay. Bad. Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't like Mom made it, let me just say that.
Then I watched...
It's kind of like what Grandma made when she was 95 years old. It was kind of about that, where you're not really too sure what she served on that platter for you. Hell, it could have been dog food for all you know.
But you don't want him to be mean and question it?
Yeah, because she's fucking 95.
Then I watched Making a Murder on Netflix, and and then I saw Finding Dory with some friends at some point, and
then I started making a murder towards Dory. No.
That's the third one. Finding Dory's body.
Finding the bones of Dory. It's an investigation one. Well, I guess my week was, this is how my week was. I pretty much worked 16-hour days.
Oh, damn.
I was like, working on computers, the day job, and then coming back and animating till like 10 o'clock at night. So I'd wake up pretty much at 6, work all the way till about 10 o'clock at night. It was like these long ones, but I was like, okay, there's that little rubber onion animation battle, and now I'm already halfway through it. You gotta finish it fucking now. There's only like 3 days left to go. Okay, let's just animate the fuck out of this.
I saw that bitter old fuck animation. That was pretty funny. I liked it.
I thought it actually came out pretty good. Like when I had it storyboarded, of course it was much longer. I had him like he was gonna punch the guy, then stab the guy in his hand, and like throw him over. But then you realize that there's not enough time in 15 seconds for all that cool stuff.
Was the concept handshake gone bad?
Yeah, it was like handshake fail or handshake gone bad, and I kind of almost like took that. It's like, well, there's a handshake in it, but it's gonna be a PSA kind of thing. Because Bitter Old Fuck's that character, I've had him for like fucking ever, and I've been wanting to use him somewhere, somehow. So these little animation things kind of like, oh, okay, well, there's a place I can at least get a 15-second, at least get him out there. And the whole point is just having that character be, hey, it's this old man who's retired, he's got free time on his hands, and instead, you got Batman, Superman out there fighting the big crime of the world, You got the police officers who aren't going to deal with stuff, but what about all those little problems and pet peeves that just piss you off that you want to deal with, but maybe you either can't, or there's not a real plausible way to do it? He'll fucking take care of that. He'll take care of the people that might be illegally dumping out in the middle of the woods, fucking ruining our great area. He'll take care of the problems of that lady who fucking fills up her gas tank, but then when it's done, she then decides to wash her car and clean it out while you're waiting in fucking line. Like those little things.
That one sounded a little too close to home right there.
Actually, I got that one from a guy I knew. When I showed him that animation, he started going off on ideas. I'm like, oh, that's good. I like that one. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, that was actually, I like the animation. It's pretty good. I look forward to seeing more of that character.
So yeah, so hopefully it's like, okay, at least get them out there, and then yeah, keep going with that. So that's kind of neat, kind of fun to do. But yeah, other than that, though, that was pretty much my week of put a couple hard drives in, let those things fucking sit there and download. And as I said, the Xbox One went so smooth and easy, or the PlayStation One, I was like, a little bit more work, but whatever. Which is so weird. It's like, that seems like such a nitpicky thing, but like, why can't you have fucking USB ports on there? Why can't you just plug in an external hard drive? Why? I mean, you can fucking do that on the Wii U. If the Wii U can one-up you on the PS4, I'm saying this as a Nintendo fan, but still, if the Wii U is one-upping you, come on.
You're asking the wrong person. I call you for computer advice.
I know, I'm just spouting out things that like I hear, but at least now it's kind of like I got all this room to put new shit on there, and I don't have to fucking worry about it. But yeah. But other than that, though, yeah, my week was animating that, and then I watched a couple of movies over time. Like, I watched this one. I've been looking at it forever. It's been on my like Amazon recommendations, and it's called The Black Swan. It's from 1942. It's a pirate movie with Tyrone Power, and it's always been there. It's just like, because you like Errol Flynn and the old-fashioned swashbucklers. I'm like, well, yeah, and I kept seeing it. It's like, I gotta get that one. It's got fucking Tyrone Power, and it looks fucking badass. So I finally got it. And I was watching it. Yeah.
Just wondering, because I'll be honest. This isn't me shitting on you. I imagine, people, if you like this pirate thing, you like that pirate thing. That's probably since like 2004 to 2007. That probably hasn't been a big category because of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. On Amazon, is it just kind of like, oh no, here's a bunch of Errol Flynn stuff. Here's a bunch of like things around that time, or is it kind of like, oh, like you like Errol Flynn? Well, here's Muppet Treasure Island, and here's that one 90s pirate movie, like Cutthroat Island.
Cutthroat Island, yeah, like one of the only other pirate movies out there.
It's just kind of like whichever pirate movie they can find, they jumble it up in there. Or is it always just kind of like something close to Errol Flynn like?
No, they're all like 30s to 50s movies. It's like they don't have anything else in like that little like section of recommend things. But yeah, and then you'll get some of these other things. It's like, well, here's the Humphrey Bogart collection, or here's, the Clark Gable collection, and all those kind of, neat little what have you. But I popped in the Black Swan, and God, did they just make fucking badass fucking action movies in the 30s and 40s. It's one of those ones, it sounds so weird to like somebody who probably never watched old movies. Like, what do you mean? It's like, I can't imagine there being that like action oriented. It's like, no. Like that movie, like for the first 15 minutes, it's like constant sword fighting, and then there's like a couple like lines of dialogue, and then more sword fighting, and then there's just like, well, I'll say this: the movie's a little bit rapey.
Oh well, 1930s pirate movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's literally a part like after like all the sword fighting in the beginning and whatnot. There's just a bunch of pirates, and they just got women over their like shoulders, like doop doo 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 doo, walking down the beach, claiming my treasure, and then they like have them on the ground, and they're just like tied up there, and they're just like, oh, this ale is great.
Oh, so it's really okay. I thought it was almost kind of like that, I know this is like 30 years later, 007 switching the cards on the psychic girl kind of shit, which, yeah, it's not great thing to do, but it was the time, so it's just kind of like, yeah, that was, whatever. But that right there, it's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, I'm not really surprised, but at the same time, I kind of wasn't expecting it.
They're pirates, so,
they're pirates.
What pirate have you not made that's not rapey?
I guess that's something they always left out of the Disney ones.
Yeah, I know. But and then next thing you know, it's like then Tyrone Power's kind of in there, and they have Captain Morgan in this. He's kind of the historical figure of this story and whatnot. And they get to this point because, and this is something else I've learned about 1930s and 40s. Like, and it sort of clicked with this movie, even though I've seen a bunch of other movies like this. But like right now, I was like, you know what? Before the Nazis were really like big and bad, you know who the original like Nazis were in movies as far as like the bad guys that everybody was fighting and killing and not caring about?
Spaniard sailors?
Spaniards. Like, it's like I just know, I put that all together. I'm like, man, every movie from like the 20s, 30s, and like early 40s, the Spaniards are always the fucking bad guys. So like the Mex, they're like, oh, those evil Spaniards out there. I mean, they're literally the Nazis of that time period. And here's what makes sense though, because you just had the Spanish-American War literally like 20 years before that. So everybody who's making movies now, it's like they're in their 40s. Let's say that's in their movie prime directing. I mean, I think the director of this movie, fucking born in 1885 or something like that. Well, that makes total sense, though. You know what I mean? It's like Steven Spielberg making like a bunch of Nazi movies in the 90s, When he's in his 40s, he's making it about like the evil of back then.
Well, even in the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie, the Spaniards, you think the bad guys for a second, like, oh no, they're not the bad guys. They want to destroy this evil, like, whatever it is at the end, everyone gets into it, a big fight over. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But I was gonna say, as soon as 1946 happened, the Spaniards got to go. Thank fuck.
So somebody worse than us.
Yeah. So finally, we're gonna take it. Hollywood's gonna give us a fucking break. They're gonna forget about us after that guy. That guy, he went above and beyond. Holy fuck.
There's gonna be some Spaniard like guy alone who's like a super history expert. He's like, oh no, they're starting to remember. They're starting to remember like Freddy Krueger again. He found the clues that lead back to like how evil we once were. Because now like, you know, you think of Spain, it's like the most like kickback country. Like, yeah, man, you know, we're having a good time here. Hell, you know, drugs are legal. It's just like, you know, everybody's doing pretty good. We we pay taxes and everybody takes care of us. And it's the kind of like the thing. It's like, and beforehand, we were still out there grabbing slaves, even though every other country stopped doing it. We were taking over all those Asian countries. We were holding on to Cuba for dear life and Jamaica.
I think, well, now, I think they got a little bit more time, probably, but Germany seems to be relatively chill now. And I think
Germany's now totally kicked back.
There is that whole thing if someone kind of slowly seems like they're leading towards like Nazi shit. They're like, oh well, we all like Jews. Jews cool, yeah, you know.
But yeah, well, here going back to the Black Swan, I gotta keep going with like the pirates being raped because this part's just kind of funny. It's just this almost tells you like what a 1940s man
kind of funny
man is like. You know, Tyrone Power's there, and they're taking over this, like, one Spanish building or whatnot, and the king's like, whoa, what the hell? And I think, it's like Tyrone Power, he's like strapped up, he's captured and everything, but then he fucking breaks free, and all his pirate buddies come in, and then they take over, and they're like, haha, king, we'll tie you up now. And the next thing you know, like, this lady comes down, who's played by Maureen O'Hara, the chick that's always in, like, sometimes John Wayne movies and other things like that. And she's like, what are you doing to my father? He's like, well, we're taking him in now. And then Tyrone Power walks up to her, he's like, you look pretty. Sounds like you look pretty. She's like
1930 slang.
He's like, come on, fair maiden, you're gonna come with me now. Give me some of that lovin' and stuff. And she's like, no, I don't want you. He's like, come here. You know, I want to get a taste before. And she's like, no, get away. He just like push her up the wall. And he goes to, and then he goes to force himself on her, like kiss her and stuff. She's like, no, and she ends up biting him. He's like, ow, you stupid wench, and then fucking punches her across the head. She's fucking knocked out. He's carrying her on her shoulder, walking out of the building, and then Captain Morgan shows up. He's like, Jamie, my boy, how are you doing? He's like, great. Chucks the woman off his shoulder, goes to shake his hand.
Does somebody catch her or just lands like a fucking
hit the ground?
Like a fucking sack of potatoes, just
literally just chokes her off. And throughout this whole movie, Tyrone Power is like, you know, they go to Jamaica next and whatnot. And they take over all these like Spanish areas because they're all English. And he's kind of like, he gets this new castle. He's like, here we go. Here's my new place to stay. It's like, well, this is the princess's like room. And there's like some poor black guy's like, this is where, you know, Madame Exella lived. I'll keep it clean for you, mister. He's like, yeah, you do that now, sir good servant. He's like, get me the fluffiest pillow in here. Oh, sure thing, master. I'll get that for you. And so he just becomes this like conquistador thing, living there. And then next thing you know, they got to go out. The English are like, you got to go out and stop these evil pirates. And, you know, Captain Morgan, you're the guy that knows pirates better than anybody else. So he ends up hiring fucking Jamie Boy, who's this, you know, pirate to go out there. And what he does, he's like, yes, but I want that woman that I, you know, tried to. He's like literally forcing himself upon her. Like he even knocks out like her, I don't know, boyfriend or whatnot, whatever he is, boyfriend, like almost husband. He's like, how could you be with this guy? This guy is such a fruitcake or something like that, you know. And then he literally, when he goes out on his pirate mission to go attack the other pirates, he captures her and stows her aboard, like the ship, and everything like this, like literally forces his will upon her, even makes her go like, you know, okay, now you got to pretend that you're my wife and everything like that, or else these guys won't believe me. You know, everything like that. He's like, let me force myself into bed with you. Whatnot.
It's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah, they're going to believe it. And then, like, one of the pirate guys even comes in. He's all, like, drunk. And he's, like, looking through. He's like, just making sure you guys are married. And then he comes and he just, like, sits next to the bed. And he's, like, drinking. Just, like, looking down, like...
Continue.
He's like, boy, Jamie, boy, I wish I could find a wife like that. Leans in farther. It's like... And then next, there's more action and everything like that. But at the very end of the movie, it's just like she eventually like falls for him, even though he's just like been this horrible like douchebag forcing his will upon her, pretty much as rapey as can be pirate. And then they end up like, it's okay, you'll be perfect. It's like, well then we'll go sail the seas and you'll be my wife, ha ha. 1940s credits.
At the end, like, as he's just standing on, like, the front of the boat, just, like, on his arms on his hips, he just starts scratching his dick, like, fuck!
Yeah. How do I get rid of her?
Well, no, that's, like, one of those things where, no, didn't, like, most of the pirates actually die out of, like, just STDs?
I don't know if that's necessary. I mean, they're probably just disease in general. I think kill it out. I mean, I don't think that's, like, what, like, ended the pirate, like, thing, but that probably didn't help. Being out in the sea all the time, not always eating enough good stuff, and drinking and partying and fighting and so on.
There gotta be, yeah. And I was gonna say, just hearing about that right there, just that guy just coming in, just being like, "I'm just making sure you're married," because like, yeah, the rest of the pirate crew is really gonna give a fuck that much. He's like, just sits there, continue, like, yeah, this part we have to do this, otherwise he's not gonna believe us. Like, yeah, just stand in the fucking corner jerking off.
That was how close it was getting there. But then he looks over and he sees like this hammock sitting there, knowing that he's like, they're not really married. He's playing a scam on us. So then they go tie him up, and then he has to break out and everything, and he fights his way through, and they have.
He saw a hammock. He's like, "There's 2 beds in here."
Yeah, literally, he saw that, and that was the thing that he knew. He's like, "Wait a second, this is a ruse."
Well, then he's like, "That was already in here when we came in here."
It literally was. We took it out of the cabinet, but he forgot to put it back in the cabinet.
It's like, okay.
But no, I kid you not. That was, those pirate movies of the 30s and 40s are just so good. There's so much action. It's just the thing is, like, that's a genre that's really not utilized anymore. And you'd think that after making Pirates of the Caribbean that you would start seeing more and more pirate movies coming out. But no, it's weird. A movie can make a copious amount of money, be humongous. I take, like, Jurassic Park as another one, for example. For how big that movie's been over the last 20 years, and pretty much nobody else has really done a dinosaur movie. I mean, there's some kind of, like, B, C grade ones or whatnot. But really, the only thing that's close to it's King Kong. That's about as close as you get to a big budget like dinosaur movie, and there's just about 4 or 5 dinosaurs in that one.
Well, I noticed that a lot of things kind of well, I can't speak so much on Jurassic Park. I'll figure that one out in a second, but I think the pirate genre thing, I don't think Pirates of the Caribbean necessarily. I think it inspired a bunch of movies, but not exactly do pirates. More just that kind of like sort of swashbuckling, kind of like fantasy adventure kind of thing. Not like a Lord of the Rings kind of way, but kind of like just olden times kind of fun adventure kind of movie. Like kind of like, I didn't see the movie because it looked fucking horrible, but that Paul W.S. Anderson.
The Three Musketeers one that was kind of like steampunky Musketeers.
Looks fucking horrible, and I like steampunk shit, but that looks fucking horrible.
I've never seen it, and one of these, I keep going like, one of these days I just want to sit down and watch it just to see it, because who knows, that could be one of those ones where it seems so fucking weird and out there, and it looks like that's almost like a movie like you can't sell like Three Musketeers to children nowadays. You gotta like fucking amp that shit up. That was literally what it reminds me of. It's like, kids will not be able to appreciate old-fashioned swashbuckling. Mm-hmm. But if we put in fucking flying ships and shit and battle cannons, and people like fighting in the sky, then they might be able to take this.
Yeah. Like I think I'm having trouble thinking of other franchises right now, but I can think of a bunch of things that kind of had that Pirates of the Caribbean kind of flavor to it, but didn't actually utilize pirates. Where I think the whole, what I think about the Jurassic Park thing? I feel like that's actually what's more to that movie than anything else. It has that Spielberg charm. It's just a very, very Spielbergian movie. Because, it has all the, I don't want to use the word tropes, but it has all the things you usually see in a Spielberg movie. There's a couple of kids for the younger audience to relate to. The adults kind of know what they're talking about. They're not really just bumbling stupid, like, oh, what are we doing? You know what I mean? And then there's always this sense of terror, because that's something that's pretty good about, like, Spielberg movies. Even
like Indiana Jones,
Yeah, because, like, even, like, I think even though it kind of starts with Jaws, actually, that one, well, it still kind of has a little bit of that Jaws kind of flavor to it, but it doesn't, that one's less aimed at kids, even though a lot of kids back then loved that movie.
Yeah.
But I think that, even things he produced, like Goonies, Poltergeist, like nobody's really out of, the woods. Even though most of the people usually make it out, there's always this real sense of danger, and Jurassic Park had that. Plus, it also had a little bit of whimsy to it, which Spielberg's always good about, like, balancing those two. So I think more than anything, my head. The thing was all like staticky for a second. I was like, is he flipping me off? What's he doing? Yeah.
Fuck you, man.
I wouldn't want to talk about Jurassic Park. It's my favorite movie. No, but no, I think that maybe it's more like because I think I can think of things that try to do a little bit of the Jurassic Park thing, but like maybe not the same way, just because it didn't have that Spielberg kind of vibe to it.
I guess it's just one of those ones. It's like even without the Spielberg thing, I'm just surprised that nobody says like, "Hey, let's just make this other kind of movie." I mean, you see, other movies will come out, and all of a sudden you can't see it. It's like, well, that looks like a movie I've already seen, 2 years ago or something like that, and somebody's just kind of making more on the bandwagon of that. But for some reason, I don't know why, it's like I just think of certain genres, like pirates, like fucking dinosaurs, that nobody, it's like they make that one humongous one that makes tons of money. Because you think there'd just be somebody out there that's like, I can at least scam a little bit of the Steven Spielberg money by making myself I mean, I guess you got Roger Corman's Carnosaur, but that came out literally the same year as Jurassic Park. So I almost feel like, I mean, obviously he knew that was in the works, and because it's a Roger Corman movie, so oh, they're going to take 2 years to make this Jurassic Park movie, or 3 years to make this Jurassic Park movie. Well, Roger Corman only needs one,
He needs 6 months.
Yeah, he needs 6 months. Get him a Velociraptor, which that movie, what makes that one kind of cool is the fact that it's almost like you get like that Jurassic Parkness, but it's like it's rated R. You get the violence that you don't get like in, I guess, Jurassic Park, where it kind of cuts away. I mean, it's not nearly as good as Jurassic Park, but it's still really cool. I mean, as a kid, you're like, oh, this movie's fucking badass.
I remember that I never seen the whole movie, but there was I think I may have said this on the podcast one time. It was before, I don't remember. I thought it was Jurassic Park. It was on HBO or something. It was before I saw Jurassic Park, and it was on HBO or something. It came out just a little before Jurassic Park, didn't it?
I don't know, because I want to say it's like, yeah, I want to say it's so right around the time. I'm not too sure. I mean, they literally came out almost, back in those days, almost like the VHS probably came out at the same time.
Because I know I didn't see Jurassic Park in theaters. I wanted to. My parents thought it would scare me, which they're right, because I was a pussy back then. But we ended up getting on VHS. Anyway, and I loved the movie when I saw it. But I remember watching Carnosaur or something like that on HBO, and there's a part where a chick, they're like a bunch of people like commandos with guns are walking around, like a dinosaur comes through like an air vent, grabs a chick, then pulls her up into it, like, we gotta go on, fuck her, and they just go on. And then like at some point you see her getting dragged down there. The dinosaur then like pulls her arm off and then starts like eating her stomach, and she starts vomiting blood. And I was just like, I remember being like in the first grade, like, oh no, this is a Jurassic Park, is it?
Just like we thought we were protecting him from seeing Jurassic Park, but then he got a hold of Carnosaur, which is like 3 times worse.
HBO. No, but like, or maybe even like, we had one of those black boxes, one of those things where just like one of those black cable boxes where just you had everything basically.
Yeah, the scam box.
We had one of those, and I remember one time we had like a cable cop come over, like, hey, yeah, so can we just check out the TV? Like, no, just like, oh, well, we're from the cable, so they try to act like we ain't going nowhere. They try and play like fucking good cop, bad cop with the shit. They're like, hey, buddy, can we come inside to see me? My dad's like, get the fuck out of here, Like, they want to watch TV, Dad. Like, get the fuck out.
We got satellite, damn it. But yeah, Carnosaur. See, that's about it. That's all you have. I mean, you got really nothing more you can say there.
I think back when like people hear like, okay, Spielberg's doing a dinosaur movie, I think you get a bunch of stuff that kind of happens at the same time. Like, all right, the Mario Brothers movie was themed around dinosaurs. So probably, you know what, fit dinosaurs in there somehow. And then they also had like, this isn't dinosaurs, but I think they're all trying to go with the prehistoric caveman kind of vibe, because Encino Man came out around the same time as well.
That's true. So these are the movies we get instead, even though these are good ones too. But they're kind of like oh, okay, well, yeah, it's got sort of a dinosaur old-timey vibe.
And I think the only one that actually makes some money out of that, I mean, maybe Carnosaur did, but I think
it made money.
Carnosaur made money. I know
every Roger Corman movie makes money.
Encino Man made money, but I don't know, clearly not enough to justify a theatrical sequel. So I don't know. Maybe it's like one of those things where, you know what? It's not dinosaurs, it's Spielberg. Let's just step away. Maybe it was something kind of like that.
But then, I take something like Indiana Jones, because here's the thing, is after Indiana Jones, you got movies that were almost on that same kind of caliber as Indiana Jones. Like, you get The Rocketeer, you get The Phantom, and I'm trying to think. Oh, you get like Romancing the Stone. So there's some movies that spun off of sort of that Indiana Jones style of movie.
Well, you got kind of also like a little bit of like Quigley Down Under.
So you got those two. So that's what I mean. It's like that movie inspired things, but then you just see some of these other things, and it's just why is that not there? And it's like the pirate one. It's just like come on. It's like nowadays it'd be like, why can't you have more badass things? 'Cause that's the one thing that's sort of missing from movies. You never get really good sword fights anymore. Because you watch these older movies and it's just like, oh, dude, like the fencing in them and everything like that. And I think maybe because it's just like it's so real and raw. It's not like they're sword fighting some CG monster or something like nowadays. I mean, those CG's gotten much better. No matter what, I don't know what it is. It's like whenever you see CG, it never feels like it's real. It almost just feels like you're watching a cartoon. There's something to be said about actually having that full-on real fighting going on in a movie where you can really believe it. And I think that's what you get in those old movies. Even if they're using, it's the same thing with like models. It's like, to me, a model will always feel so much more real than any CG. Because you know what? I know that the model actually exists. In my mind, I know it's there. Where the CG, I look and I go, that looks cool. But, that's, we know it's fake. It's an illusion. I mean, I know it's movies and they're all supposed to be fake and illusions and so on, but there's just something special about the real thing.
No, I get you. Well, I mean, CG is getting better. It's that point where now we got like here's a live action remake of a cartoon, but except the only thing that's real in it is this one kid, that was the Jungle Book movie. So
and those I kind of almost go, I'm like, that's not really a live action movie anymore. That's more of a cartoon movie that happens to have one live action character in it.
Which I didn't see the movie, but I mean, I saw the trailer and I didn't think it was all CG until I saw behind the scenes. I knew all the animals were CG, but I mean, I thought they were somewhere like filming out like in the jungle, and they had like a golf ball like on a golf ball on a stick. Like, okay, kid, this is the panther.
Talk yeah, exactly. Like one of those ones. They're kind of like in Jurassic Park, how they just have like the head of the dinosaurs.
Like that's gotta try to be the hardest thing for a couple of kids. Like adults, adult actors, they could probably handle it. But like little kids, like, okay, you're scared, like, just like shimmying along with this stick with a raptor.
Yeah, but it's not as weird as in Jurassic World when I watch the special features, and then you see like the pet zoo kind of area. And, the part where the kids are all riding on like the little triceratops and everything like that, and then it shows what it looks like in real life, and it's just some guy like on his all fours walking around in like a blue suit. It's just like that's gotta be fucking weird to a kid.
Yeah. You can tell. I guess it's got to be one of those things because I'm not
riding a Teletubby.
Well, you can tell like when you're a kid. I don't know. When you're a kid, just a lot of the logic and sense of it goes out the window. You don't really think about it. You don't even know about it. But when I saw, for instance, there was that show Nickelodeon Arcade, where they have a couple of video games. They choose the game they want to play, and they got to get the most points, and then whoever wins then goes into the real game. So, and that was one of those things where, as a kid, I was just like, oh my God, they got to go inside the video game. How's that going to be? Magic must exist. It's showing it on TV, and then I imagine just like how like me being like the fucking dumbass if I was back then, still kind of am to some extent. If I actually did get there, how disappointed I would be when it's like, okay, here's the game room. You're just like in like a blue room. There's like a guy just like whatever, just like throwing like golf balls at you. You're gonna dodge or whatever, It's
like, now look at the monitor, Billy. Look at the fucking
now monitor. Shimmy in place. Just be sure to constantly be shimming in place.
Well, every kid on there, you can kind of tell, like, they're kind of doing that, like, I think I'm dodging it. Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not. Well, fuck, I can't really tell what's going on. Can we get some fucking VR helmets in here?
Because that was the thing, yeah, every kid, because the course would move along. I mean, when I was a kid, I thought, oh, that kid's really moving through the course, through this crazy 8-bit world. Then I was just like, oh, wait, then you just kind of put it, then like, you get older, you kind of put together. They were probably shimming in place, and the course came to them, and they had to jump over shit, or they had to throw some. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I will still say that is a pretty sweet setup, though, for like 1989, 1990. Like, for what they had going on in that show, it's like that is still pretty sweet. It's pretty magical still. I know it's probably gonna be kind of hard to play, but when you do look at that for that time period, it's like, oh, that is still pretty cool, and it worked.
Yeah,
like you believed it. You'll believe a kid could be in an 8-bit world.
I just imagine like how many dumbass kids like me got there, and they just go like, okay, there's the game. Just stand at the blue on the blue carpet. We'll get you going here. And he's all like, well, I thought I thought it was magic. There's no magic, you fucking idiot. Stand on the blue carpet.
There's only magic in the fucking back room. Got our glory hole sitting up there. That's the only place I've seen magic. What's a glory hole, mister? You'll find out. You'll find out in a pile of your own vomit.
All the fucking like Nickelodeon characters they don't use anymore, like Rat Fink going back there.
Just like, yeah, back there, just in this, like, they're like, okay, which one you want? Which one you want? You pick it, it sucks it.
Okay, we got Oswald, the kid in the wheelchair, Rat Fink, and then, like, I don't know, some miscellaneous Ren and Stimpy character that's only on for one episode.
And then we got the Legend of the Hidden Temple, the fucking talking rock thing.
It's just like, let me out, you shut the fuck up, like hit it with a broom.
Since the day you stopped giving out Sega Saturns was the last day you were on TV.
It wasn't my fault. It's not my part of the contract. Like, you shut the fuck up, Rocky. Hit him.
Did you hear that they're making a live-action movie of Legend of the Hidden Temple?
You know, that doesn't surprise me. Because I remember back when I was a kid, I'd always hear all my parents say, oh my God, they're making all these movies of stuff when we were a kid. It's just getting ridiculous. It's our turn now. Yeah. So I didn't hear about that, but I mean, there's some shit, like, I mean, I'm a very nostalgic person, but there's some shit I'm just like, fucking let it go. I mean, don't get me wrong, Batman's my favorite thing. He's been around since 1939, but it's like, what was it? There was, they started a Kickstarter to get Reading Rainbow up and going again. And it succeeded. It's just like...
It's amazing how those things can always succeed, too. That's what blows me away.
Here's my thing. Is it kind of one of those things, okay, these people, they liked Reading Rainbow that much, and there's just a bunch of nostalgia and novelty to it. They want to watch it themselves, or do they got kids, they trust the show, and they just want their kids to see it? I hope that's the case, but regardless, you think kids like, I got this show where Mickey Mouse talks to me, and, all this, I got all this other, I don't give a fuck about some dude, tell me about a book.
I know, there's just...
Maybe I'm wrong.
There is some things, like, because I'll say this, I think Legend of the Hidden Temple was probably my all-time favorite Nickelodeon show. That was the one I liked the most out of any of them. Because mostly that was about the only things I liked on Nickelodeon was their live-action stuff. So it sounds weird, but like it was the cartoons I wasn't too big a fan of, excluding a couple of them, but it was the live-action stuff's what I liked. And that one right there being my all-time favorite one, but it's like, you're going to take a game show, and I mean, not saying that they probably haven't done that before, but it's just kind of a weird concept to turn it into a movie. I guess if you did it kind of in like a fourth wall kind of way, like it's literally a game show and then it turns into something else and, becomes like some murder mystery story or whatnot. But they're going to do it like Indiana Jones-ish, where they're like, oh, we're going to go out exploring as two kids, and it's just like, oh. Or like...
I see... Go ahead.
Or say it's almost going to be like Uncharted with children.
I see it being one of two things, just kind of like a kid's Indiana Jones. Maybe... I think one of this is going to happen. It's going to need this either way. It's going to need like some kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing to the audience, kind of like Goosebumps or take it to an R-rated version, 21st Jump Street or 22nd Jump Street. So I think you need something like that to make that, because it just sounds... Because I mean, I don't know, because otherwise we already got a bunch of Indiana Jones ripoffs. Might as well make this one funny or different,
Yeah, I mean, like at first they weren't gonna get the voice actor who played the Stone guy, and then people flipped a bitch on it, and then they
Oh my fucking God! People flipped a bitch. We couldn't get the voice actor for the Stone guy of this show. That I fucking forgot about that show till you fucking brought it up. Are you shitting me?
Well, I will say, as someone who watched the show and everything like that, that's like not getting David Hayter to play Solid Snake. It is kind of a big deal for as far as that show goes.
For that show that had, like, what? It was on for maybe 2, maybe 3 years. David Hayter was voicing this character since Metal Gear 1.
I don't know, yeah, it is there. But I'm just going to put it in the context of the show. So they did get the guy from the show. He is coming back to voice the Stone guy.
Oh my God.
Not saying I'm going to go out and see this movie. I don't know. Because it just seems to me it's going to be like Spy Kids meets Uncharted meets fucking Legend of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It might be a good movie, and I just can't. I can understand, like, oh, we got this guy. That's cool. Oh, I'm sorry, we couldn't get the guy. Are you fucking shitting me? It falls apart without the talking stone man's voice. Like, what the? I mean, I don't get how that's such a big fucking deal. Does anybody really know the guy's name?
It was in the article, but I don't know it.
Aside, if you look up on IMDb, no offense to that guy, I'm sure he's done plenty of work throughout the years, but really, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just one of those things. Like I said, I'm a very nostalgic person. There's the things I like, and I get it's time to move on at some point. But it's like there's some things like doesn't really. I don't know. It doesn't really warrant as much like attention as it's getting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I think Legend of the Hidden Temple would be better if they just brought the show back, because for a new generation of kids, it's like I want you in. Like, okay, look at this. American Ninja Warrior, super fucking popular right now. In a sense, what's Legend of the Hidden Temple? It's the same thing, but with kids. Like, I think that's a good idea. They probably can't do the Temple Night things anymore, like for those guys to pop out and grab people. Because that always just seemed like the scariest part of the whole thing. Because you're just running along like, come on, Billy, put the stone in. Okay, grab the statue. He's like, come on, Billy, you can do it. He's jumping up trying to get it, and he finally gets it, and he starts going. He's like, okay, now swing across the vine. He swings across the vine, gets over there. Now put the idol in. Then all of a sudden, comes out from the fucking wall and grabs the kid and pulls him in. Some children had to fucking wake up, 10 years later in the middle of the night just screaming at the top of their lungs in like a dingy apartment like down in like the depths of Miami, just being like
just being dragged into like a pile of like foam balls, like no
exactly, because that's really.
And like his girlfriend's like, Billy, what was it? He says there's nothing. He starts opening up like a fucking his nightstand. There's fixings for heroin. He says, Billy, you said you were done. And just like, no, I'm not.
There's only one way to get rid of that temple guard.
He says, Billy, it was 15 years ago. It was my nom. And now I didn't get the Sega Saturn.
I think that's the worst part, is I never got the Sega Saturn. It was little Jenny
emulator,
and she gave it away to charity. Calm down, Billy. It's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. You know what I got? Look, I got a Sony PlayStation. It was never the same.
I watched the Darren Aronofsky like Legend of the Hidden Temple one, where you see all these adults trying to cope with it years later.
That'd be the better one. That's almost like fucking like it, but with like Legend of the Hidden Temple, like 15 years from when they were on the show, they all get back together in a small town and have to cope with it.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the fucking thing. Those fucking like temple guards still just jump out of shit and grab them. Like someone goes to the fridge, they just jump out, like grab them. Like, no, it's taking me back.
That'd be awesome. It's like this. Okay, they were on a TV show 15 years ago, and almost like maybe like in a Galaxy Quest kind of way. It's like some people from like outer space decide to create a real Legend of the Hidden Temple, and they suck those people into it, fucking Predator style. Like they just land on this like island. They're like, what the fuck's going on? So this gets rid of all the kid stuff, because I mean, like realistically, you should be making this for our generation. If you're gonna make this show, might as well. So a bunch of 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds land on this island, and all of a sudden they're like, well, wait a second, this all seems sort of familiar but different, and then they're all interconnected somehow, some way. Maybe they all different ones. Like, I want a Sega Saturn. Well, I won, 2 trips to like Universal Studios Orlando. I won,
They get to the fucking other edge of the universe. Like, I want a Sega Saturn.
Why am I here? And then there's got to be that one character that's just like,
I want the cure for cancer.
He's like, I didn't win anything. It's like, well, then why did they bring you here? Because I turned to a serial killer. They threw me in here so I'd stir everything up. I'm the Eric Foreman of this bitch. I would see that movie, though, yeah, where it's these, like, aliens suck these... They create their own Legend of the Hidden Temple real world on some distant planet, suck, these 15 contestants there, and then they gotta, like, fight their way through with, like, the Stonehenge guy narrating the whole way, and they have different, like, tasks and so on, but now everything's real.
I'd rather just see Predator 4.
Yeah, well, I'm planning on seeing that too, but we could get both. There's America, goddammit. I want more.
That was Iggy Pop's name of his autobiography. I want more. But
Like I said, it's like, this is America, goddammit. I want more.
not that part. Just I want more. And there's even that song like I want more relish in my hot dog or whatever. Just that's a part of the song.
Just like literally, like that's what he wants.
No, it's just like I want more. I don't remember. I haven't listened to that song in so long, but I remember like I want all the relish in my hot dog. I want all the fine woman. You know, just going down the list. It was just like, every once in a while, Iggy Pop will put out a song where it's like, it's not the song's that well written. It's just that he just has that he's just so charismatic and has that raw energy that he just like, all right, well, that sounds stupid, but you found a way to pull it off. Yeah. So good for you.
Yeah, I'll listen to it. Like, that's how a lot of Iggy Pop songs are. He's like the guy who can get away with like just rhyming almost like stupid lines. If you would have just read that, you'd be like, this is fucking retarded. But for some reason, he can pull it off.
Well, there's that Slash album.
Oh yeah, like roll on the ground.
No. It's just like pee on the ground and jump around. All right. You can do whatever you want, Iggy. You kind of create a punk rock, so go for it. You get a pass.
You're not gonna question him. He had a really good podcast. I don't know, it was like a couple months ago. I listened to on. I think he was on.
Nerdist.
Maybe he was on Nerdist. I was thinking he was on Chris Jericho, but probably that.
He was on Nerd. There's one.
Yeah, he was on the Nerdist. That's right. It wasn't Chris Jericho.
With the guy from with Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah, that's right. For the longest time, I was like, who the fuck is that other guy out there? Is that like, this is my manservant that takes care of me?
He just like claps his hands, just picks him up and carries him.
Well, sometimes it is. You listen to podcasts and they just have this like, it's like, here's somebody you really like, and some random ass name. You're like, who the fuck's that random ass name? But speaking of kind of like other '90s things, I went back and here's a movie I haven't actually watched in a long time, but I've seen it so many times. And I was like, I gotta go back and watch it. It's one of my favorite like classic comedies, and it's Wayne's World.
I haven't seen that in so long.
The upside is that I'm so glad that movie holds up so well and is still just as funny as ever. Because that's always kind of like your fear for some older movies. Like, will they hold up as well as they once did? Would you like it as much as you did when you were a kid, in a sense?
Apparently, when making that movie, what's his name? Mike Myers is a real prima donna, hard to work with.
Was he? They didn't say that in the special features.
Well, I just heard that I heard like it's one of those things years later, and like the director's like, she's like, I want him to fucking kill him at some points, like apparently the part where they're headbanging to like Bohemian Rhapsody, that whole part was apparently just like, he says, this is stupid, it's hurting my head.
Well, that's what they all said. They're like, oh, this really hurts my neck. This is like, he's like for the next 3 days, we were all like injured from it. So I mean,
who knows? Maybe just like that rumor shit you just overhear about. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
But who knows? It could be true. It could be wrong.
Who knows? It's technically Mike Myers' like first movie, so.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's like that movie. It's like, and to me, like that's kind of like the time period when I think of like Saturday Night Live being really sweet, because like when you're watching as a kid, like all that stuff is great, and it's the sad thing is like Saturday Night Live. I feel for like the last like 15 years or so has not been funny. Like every single time I tune on randomly just to see what it is, it's like I just feel like. I mean, it's totally made for a different audience nowadays. Like that audience that there was like in the 90s or even pre-90s, like was almost like that, like, yo, you're up at 11 o'clock at night. You just got back from a huge fucking party and you can't go to bed. Well, what are you going to do? Well, you got fucking Saturday Night Live where Chris Farley's going to make you laugh tonight. What else are you going to do? I mean, come on, there's some bacon in the fridge. It's cold. Grab that shit. Fucking slap it on an Egg McMuffin. Hell, you don't need to go to McDonald's. Fuck those guys. You got Saturday Night Live. Come on, Mike Myers. I mean, like, him and Garth are going to be in the fucking basement. That's where you are right now. Same thing. And that's like, that was almost like its audience. Where nowadays it just feels like it's like almost like it's turned into, and I think it's just, over time it's become sort of like the uppity New York yuppie audience. And I know it's always been in New York, but it felt like it was more like hip and sort of kind of like, the average, I'm going to say average Joe, like in a good way. And now it's kind of like that, like, oh, look, it's almost like San Francisco-y, New York, high scale, living big, that kind of vibe. And, I'm not saying that there's probably not a handful of bits in there that are funny, but like a lot of times I do watch it and just go, I'm not laughing, not funny, I don't get it. Like almost that like skit that was on like The Simpsons, where Homer's like flipping through the Far Side comics, even though I like Far Sides, but like where he just was like, I don't get it, not funny, Does it make sense? Don't like it? And like that's sort of how I feel when I watch Saturday Night Live nowadays, which is sad because it's something that I used to think of as like being such a great thing.
Yeah, it was that time where it used to be, I don't know, maybe it's one of those things like anything that was at one point kind of edgy or, you know, controversial, sometimes or usually that becomes the standard. So there was a time where you did have a bunch of like what seemed like a bunch of like coked out like improv rejects just who were actually really talented and really funny, just like improvising shit and just like coming out with these great sketches. I mean, I'm no historian, but that's always what I hear about whenever I hear old
especially
interviews
like
from
the 70s stuff because I that's like my favorite
John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd stuff.
Well, I love that cover to like the very first season of like Saturday Night Live because it's just a picture of all those guys stand there, and like even Chevy Chase, he's got his hand out like this, like cupped, like he's got a beer in it, but there's nothing there. It's just
like they photoshopped it out.
No, I don't think it's they photoshopped it out. I think it's just literally he was drinking so much beer that his hand formed into like
a G.I. Joe claw.
Literally, so it's like he's action ready, and just everybody's just standing there like almost holding each other up in the photo. And to me, it's like you look at that, it's like that's fucking ballsy comedy right there, and everything like that. And I think what's happened is it kind of just like everything else in life, like you can have something where everything's so ridiculous and so on, and then over time you're going to get the business guys that kind of come in and kind of make everything serious and, you know, by the book and all that kind of stuff. It's equivalent to like many other things. You know, you like read about like the olden days of Atari where it was just like fucking Wolf of Wall Street pretty much. And it's like, can you imagine going to any of the EA's not going to be like that. Fucking, you know, Ubisoft's not going to be like that where you're going to be like people just in there like smoking pot and drinking beer and fucking working on Breakout and shit. And you got fucking Steve Jobs who's like, I'm gonna go fucking to India for 3 months. See ya. Like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, he's got shit to do here. He's like, why is he not putting shoes on? God damn it, that fucking dirty hippie. Like, I mean, what dirty hippie's gonna come in and work at fucking EA nowadays?
Yeah, and plus I also think like, well, just going back to SNL for a second, it's almost like SNL just became this high bar. So it's almost like I don't know if there is a real school for it, but I think there's all these off, like third party, like almost like teaching academies there. This like, oh yeah, well we help you get to SNL. You know, they really like the kids we send them. So who knows, you might get on SNL. I hear about that kind of stuff.
Well, they've had that kind of forever, and I think what originally was is they'd have like those comedy kind of like troops or whatever you want to call them, where it's like, okay, you know, you 10 comedian guys, and it's pretty much it's almost like a band but for comedians. I think that's really when you break it down, It's like, okay, we all got our money together, we've rented out this theater so that we can all do our bits and acts and everything like that, and you know, it's kind of a community sort of thing. So like lots of times those like Second City and all those kind of places, they would go towards there. But I think over time people kind of came in, they're like, oh well, we could turn this sort of into like almost like a schooling thing and charge money and all this kind of things, and and you know, they found a way to capitalize on it and kind of take it away. And maybe that's like what makes, you know, Saturday Night Live not fun anymore. Because, you know, you think of other movies. Okay, Wayne's World's great. But then I think one of my other really favorite movies of like the 90s comedy, like Night at the Roxbury, fucking hilarious. Another Saturday Night Live one. And there's all these other kind of ones too. I mean, there's some that are kind of weird, like It's Pat. Like that movie's fucking different.
I know. I only remember that was one of those things I heard later in the line. Like, wait, that was actually... I think I heard a joke on The Critic about, oh yeah, they're making a movie about the It's Pat thing. Is it a boy? It's a girl? Who knows? You know? And I was just like, oh, that's kind of a funny joke because that would never happen. And then I overheard in an interview somewhere, someone mentioned that offhand, like, oh yeah, then I worked on It's Pat, the movie, and that didn't go well. Like I remember I think actually it may have been, I might be wrong here, I think it may have been Tarantino just did like a punch up on the script or glanced at the script or something like that. I think I heard something like that, or somebody, if not Tarantino,
somebody like Tarantino.
Like he like just threw in a few lines and just kind of like, okay, I'm done with this thing. Yeah, you know. But
because I think that's an example of like something that works in a 5-minute skit but doesn't work in like a full-on movie.
I never seen the movie, and I was just like, when I heard about that, like, oh, that actually got fucking made. Oh wow!
Well, I mean, because you know, for a while there, you know, like Blues Brothers. There's another really good Saturday Night Live movie, you know, and a bunch of other things that you can kind of, you know, and there's ones like Ladies Man, which is like not as good as some of the other ones, but still kind of funny, and so on. But you know, nowadays, I mean, I guess like, you know, things like that Sisters, I guess would be considered like almost like a Saturday Night Live movie, or that like WTF.
Is that an SNL movie?
I don't know if it's necessary, but like those two people are like as SNL as you can get. So I mean, it's close.
Well, there's some people that come from SNL that I like. Like I like, isn't Kristen Wiig from SNL or?
Yeah, she was on SNL. I'm not saying like that's. I mean, there's probably certain skits that are funny, and I just happen to kind of tune in because the handful of times I watch newer episodes, I only watch like 15 minutes because after a while I was like, this is fucking stupid. It's like the acting's not very good, the comedy's not good, and it feels so uppity that I just don't care. You know.
There's one that I saw that was like making fun of Christian evangelical movies,
Mm-hmm.
and it was called God's a Boo Man, and it was kind of shot like a Christian independent movie, and it's about like this pretty young white girl who bakes cakes for a living, and some guy walks in like, hi, yeah, I like to order a wedding cake, like, oh, who's the lucky bride? And then some other guy walks in right here, like, make the cake, like all threatening, like just when her values were pushed. She's like, I can't do it. She runs out the door like, we will sue you if you don't make the cake. Like, all right, we will sue you. All you got to do is say God's not real. Like they're just like making like these two gay guys out to be horrifically just like evil, and then it just leads this whole thing with Supreme Court, like Christians are really misjudged, that we are the most like a discriminated group of people in the entire country. And she's talking to a black woman, she's like, excuse me. It just kind of continues on. So it's so they have some good sketches.
Well, that's there's got to be a handful of them that are there that are good. It's just, I think for the most part, it wasn't like back in the day where you could just turn on any episode and be good pretty much.
I saw one a little bit ago, mainly because Kevin Smith mentioned it. They had like Family Feud with directors and actors,
mm-hmm.
and it was like Kevin Smith versus it was somebody playing Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith versus Kevin Smith, Martin Scorsese, and Quentin Tarantino versus Jennifer Lawrence and I don't remember who the other actors were, but I remember Jennifer Lawrence. And it was pretty funny. And, they weren't like Kevin Smith is like, I was scared because the guy that they got to play me looked a lot like me. He had the Fat Man on Batman jersey, and they actually were harder on Jennifer Lawrence than they were on me. So I was really relieved on that. And he said something to the effect of like, just like, hey, welcome to the Fat Man on Batman. I'm Kevin Smith. Like, actually, you're doing this Family Feud. She's like, oh, I thought we were doing a podcast. Like, no, man, are you high? Hell yes. All wide-eyed, nodding his head and shit. So.
Well, that's pretty cool that they kind of go deep in with that, because that just seems kind of like, it doesn't really seem like the normal one, because, I will say Kevin Smith's one of those kind of guys, like, like to us, it seems like it's such a big thing because we're listening to Kevin Smith, every single week, all the time. But I think to the average Joe, you kind of like sometimes you kind of forget, like you'll be talking to somebody like, oh yeah, like Kevin Smith, like blah 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 blah, and they're like, who? Well,
Jay, you have to say Jay
Bob, and they're like,
oh, that guy.
Oh, I remember that old movie. Like most people, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot he's not really a household name like you think sometimes he is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I often have to.
So yeah, I mean that's interesting to think that they can actually kind of have him on there on the show when it's like you don't think of it as actually a household name. So yeah, I'm not saying there's not good material that still comes out on Saturday Night Live, and even it's like sometimes like you go back and watch some of the older episodes. Like I remember that like when watching some of the '70s ones, kind of the downfall is that since they're made on a weekly basis and they're mostly like about here and now, is a lot of the things don't always hold up because you're like, oh, I remember that kind of news article or that commercial that nobody, you got to kind of think for a second, like, oh, that's what they're making fun of.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I
think there's certain skits that like hold up over time because they're just comedy. They're just pure comedy. They're not like supposed to be relevant to the time or anything like that. They're just straightforward, like this is funny.
Mm-hmm.
But it does kind of make the season sets. I just remember like, I think it was like right when they kind of had like those ones they started coming out, 10 years ago or something like that. I was just watching like the 75, 76, 77. You're just kind of like, well, yeah, there's the ones that are funny, but then there's half the stuff that's like, it just, I wasn't fucking there for 1977. I'm not going to get that joke and that joke.
I remember one time I was crashing your place, and I don't know why, but for some reason it was just, of all things, we were just watching Flintstones at 2 o'clock in the morning. And they had just some off the line like reference of something like, oh, like Rockabarbera is playing tomorrow night or whatever. Like, oh, and then like Fred said something that wasn't even really like clever or no real pun to it, at least not that we heard. No, and they have the studio audience laugh track. I'm like, that has to be a reference to back in the '60s. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Well, I'll say this, even in Wayne's World, there's some lines in there that you're like, there's no way that if somebody watched this now, like a kid or something like that, they would get that. Like the part when he rolls down the window, he's like, "Do you have some Grey Poupon?" Like, if you never saw that commercial, it'd make no fucking sense to you. Like, what the hell he's talking about? You know, I mean, it might be fun. There's some kind of jokes that can be funny, even if you don't even know the context of it, just because, like, oh, he's just saying something funny to a rich guy. Like, maybe a kid would probably just find that funny without having to see the commercial, but
I wonder how...
Still, for the most part, though, Wayne's World holds up so well. And you know what's the other thing that's interesting? I think about this, too. You know how nowadays, like, it's almost like, you know, a PG-13 comedy almost doesn't work, but, you know, back in the 90s, I think of so many of the good ones, and they are PG-13, and they're totally fine. Mm-hmm. It's weird. Like, do you really think that a PG-13 comedy can do as well as they once did? I
think they could. I think it depends. Like, I'll be honest, one of my favorite movies in the last probably 10 years is a PG-13 romantic comedy, and that's 500 Days of Summer. Now, truth be told, I think I like that movie more for what it has to say and more for the story and the dialogue. It's funny, but it's not hysterical.
But isn't it more of a dramedy?
I mean, I think it's pretty... The comedy's pretty consistent, but there is like... you call that a dramedy, I think, but the comedy is consistent throughout the whole thing. There's like maybe 2 parts in the movie that's a real, like... Their parts are just kind of like, haha, I kind of know what you mean. Haha, yeah, it's kind of sad, but I kind of get it. And there's like 2 parts in the movie that are like, here is the real fucking gut punch. But but I almost kind of, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to count that as much, because that is more of a... Because I like the movie more for what it has to say and more for the dialogue than the actual comedy in the movie. But I'm trying to think the last couple...
I'm saying almost like full-on comedy, not something... Because, like, I feel a dramedy could kind of get away with being PG-13 and being totally fine. I'm not saying that, like... Because sort of like there was that time period where, like, when you're, like, almost like at that, like, right early 20s where it's like, it's got to be fucking rated R, man. Unless it's classic, it's got to be fucking rated R. But as you get kind of older, sometimes you kind of appreciate sometimes, like... The movies that aren't sometimes rated R can sometimes have a little bit better comedy because they kind of almost have to make funny things without being just, like, swearing and, like... being gross and fucking over the top in a sense.
Well, that's one of the things in like 500 Days of Summer. I think one of the funniest parts in that whole movie is the part after his first night with her. They're just playing like Hall & Oates. He's just like stepping down. He's imagining just people like breaking a song. They're dancing with them. A little cartoon bird flies, lands on his shoulder. Just this whole big musical number. Then he goes in the elevator, just looks happy as can be. The elevator doors close and it jumps like... year later after they're broken up, opens up. He just looks like utter shit. His tie's loose, just like, and just kind of walks out.
That's almost kind of reminds me of like sort of like in Better Off Dead when he has a little like when he's looking at the drawings.
Yeah, like something kind of like that. I guess I'm trying to think the last PG-13 comedy that really. A lot of people don't like him, but I was going to say Will Ferrell. I mean,
I will say, he gets away with always having good. Because the thing about Will Ferrell is even if the movie can be kind of dumb, he's always going to be really funny in it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, he never lets down. It's like here's the thing: they still have PG-13 comedies, but like they just don't feel like there was once big. And I'll say this: it feels like they kind of died off in about the mid 2000s or so. Because even Will Ferrell himself, like his really big movies. I mean, Anchorman 2 probably, but that's kind of like basing it off, the success of the first one. Mm-hmm. I'm trying, that big PG-13 comedy, because the last ones I can kind of think of that felt really huge was like Talladega Nights, Anchorman, because he was kind of taking it over. It was like after Mike Myers and Adam Sandler, he was kind of like the guy taking over the reins for that section there. Because, you look at Adam Sandler movies and stuff, and they're kind of like, they're not nearly as big as they once were. Even Will Ferrell movies, like they come out and stuff and they're there, but they don't seem like they catch that same like audience that they once did. And it seems like the movies that are the big comedies nowadays happen to be the R ones,
Yeah, a lot of.
I mean, maybe right now it's just like it's a trend for 10 years or so.
I mean, yeah, because there isn't very many PG-13. I really don't see a lot of PG-13 comedies that hang around unless they're romantic comedies, and those kind of get swept under the rug pretty quickly.
Yeah, romantic comedies, I feel like that's sort of like it's not a full comedy, so it can kind of get away with being PG-13, and that works.
But what was I going to say? I don't know. I mean, even Adam Sandler stuff. I mean, truth is, there's you got like Happy Gilmore, which is really good, but I think like Wedding Singer. But I feel
really
like
the whole '90s run is all really good, and maybe this just comes from like a '90s kid growing up with it. But every single one: Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Wedding Singer, Big Daddy, Little Nicky, The Waterboy. Like that whole run, fantastic.
Well, what I was going to say though is I think that they have a tendency to kind of like since we grew up with it, Not all of them. I think some of them, but not all of them are really that great of movies. Like I don't think Little Nicky is probably as good of a movie now. If Little Nicky came out now, I'd be like, what the fuck is this shit? But since we kind of grew up with it, I think we do like, there's that nostalgia to it. That's what a lot of it is, just nostalgia. Waterboy, if that came out just now, I'd be like, wait, what? You probably get shit from people with disabled groups or something like that for making that movie now, So, but
yeah, because that was I definitely will say those two movies are like totally 90s, and maybe it's like we were like literally the perfect age for those movies coming out, being like around 10 or 12 or whatever. And yeah, because I will say compared to like Happy Gilmore is pretty much like arguably the best Adam Sandler movie. You could pretty much say that to most people, and they go, yeah. I would say that's about right. That's kind of his pinnacle. It's kind of sad to say. It's like his third movie is like his pinnacle of his work, but
well, no, it was just something different. You weren't used to seeing a guy freak the fuck out, and because at that point in time, he did just that primal, just like angry, raw destruction, that he has in that movie, yelling. That's something you get as a kid, just because you're a kid, you don't know what the fuck to do with your fucking emotions, and then you play a video game. And this is that point where you lose the game, like, just fucking get suck, just have a little minor temper tantrum, and then you see this movie, this full-grown guy kind of doing the same, like, just like, you fucking suck, ball! Just so that's like.
Why'd you go in your hole? Were you too good for your home?
Just talking to it,
And I think that's what works is just, and I think that's what's. I always felt that was sort of what was missing from Adam Sandler movies, is in a sense him yelling. Like, that's really what you need again in Adam Sandler movies, is him flipping out.
Or like when he gets into a fist fight with Bob Barker, like, price is wrong, bitch. Like, Bob Barker. Like, that's one of the things that actually kind of brings in, like, your grandparents who weren't sure if they were going to, like, watch the movie. They're like, I don't know about this. Then, Bob Barker! And then, like, to see Bob Barker knock the fuck out of Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore. Or not Happy, Adam Sandler, yeah. One of them, whichever's the
he is happy.
Whichever the real one, I forgot. Yeah,
but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just maybe I think maybe the PG-13 comedy can kind of come probably after enough raunchy comedies. People will probably go back for some like. Yeah, I mean, you could get away with like an intelligent comedy, like almost like a British comedy can sometimes get away with being like that, but. Well, because I'm not saying anything against it. I'm just trying to find out like what was like those last times that you had this fantastic fucking that you didn't need it to be necessarily rated R, but lots of times the rated R thing worked. Like for a while there was just kind of, you get movies that would normally have been PG-13 in the 90s. Like I take for example like Role Models. That was one of my favorite comedies probably in the last 10 years, and that's one of those movies. I think what made that kind of cool is it's almost like you're watching fucking Kindergarten Cop, but it's rated R. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you're getting these one where it's like there's a bunch of fucking kids in there, and I think that sounds weird, but like rated R with like little kids is instant comedy because now you get these kids that can say fucking shit that you'd never think they would be normally able to say, which goes to show that they probably just have either really good parents or really bad parents. I'm not too sure which one it might be, but still, just the fact that they can say all this fucking shit on screen is just always hilarious.
I feel like if you're gonna get away with a PG or PG-13 comedy, what makes that stand out, because I think like an R-rated comedy, it's just there's no boundaries, so we can say whatever the fuck we want, and it could have a message or it could just be really raunchy and just say whatever. Where like PG or PG-13, most of the PG and PG-13 comedies that I've really liked that I've seen over the last couple of years are actually kind of a little bit more smart. Like for instance, one of the best kids movies I've seen in a long time, not family movies I've seen in a long time, was the Lego Movie, and that was just as clever or as funny as any R-rated like comedy or PG-13 comedy. It was PG. It was PG, and it was just as funny as like any other. Is like 21 Jump Street or 22 Jump Street, same directors. Another movie I saw a little bit ago. You might just say, "Are you fucking kidding me?" When I say this, I was just curious. I rented it on PlayStation Network. I was surprised by how much I liked it. I thought it was going to be a decent movie, but I was genuinely surprised by how much I liked it. And that was Zootopia. I watched that movie.
I almost saw that one in theaters one day. I literally almost did when it was out, and then I can't remember why, but either it was a Showtime or something like that, and I ended up not seeing it.
It's actually, it's funny, but it's more than anything. It's kind of like the same thing as I was saying, like 500 Days of Summer, where it is funny, but it's more of just kind of like the dialogue, what the movie has to say, and even just it being an animation guy. just looking at the little quirks, the little like small. Because I watched the movie like 2 times. First time just watching the movie. Second time just looking for small little details, just small things and little mannerisms the characters have. Like when someone's talking to them, one character is not doing nothing. I mean, granted, they have a whole team of thousands of people to do this, but like how the ears might slightly twitch or kind of like something kind of like that as someone's just talking.
All the subtle motions.
Yeah, and like the way they kind of animate the fox and kind of like how he kind of acts. It's like it's just like a very well. I mean, like I said, it's Disney, so spare no expense. That movie took forever.
We spared no expense.
Yeah. Yeah, just had like John Lasseter walking in there with like John Lasseter walking in there
for Disney.
with
I just think of John Hammond saying that we spared no expense.
But he's walking in with like an amber cane with a mosquito in it, Zootopia, welcome, but that was one of those cases where he
walks in with an amber cane and he's got like fucking Felix the cat in it. Something that's like, we dug this up a long time ago that got buried.
I imagine just like Mickey, because that seems like one of Mickey's earlier like rivals. I just imagine Mickey just has this room. It's just a fireplace, a comfy chair, and then a bunch of heads of like 20s to 40s cartoon characters just mounted on a wall. He just stands there with like an expensive glass of bourbon, just staring at him in the darkness,
You all thought I was all gonna be fucked, but I'm the better one! I came out alive!
He just like shucks it at one of the, Felix's head. Fuck you! Who's here now, Felix? Who's here now? Then he looks over and there's like 2 spots. It's like Mario, Sonic. Like, I'll get you fuckers, you one day!
Did you hear the thing that like what Sega's what they want to do? That reminded me of it. With Sonic the Hedgehog, they pretty much want to make Sonic the Hedgehog like not just like a video game character anymore, but like a full-on like mascot of life, like a character, like almost like a Mickey Mouse, where you could just see him anywhere. Like you wouldn't even be surprised if like you're walking down the street and there was just a Sonic ad for like drink Rockstar, and I don't know if they're going after ads, but they want to make Sonic more than just a game personality.
I can see that because here's the thing, I can see them trying to do that, but I don't know if they're smart enough. Here's the thing. Sonic's one of my favorite characters, and I know the games haven't been that great in the last 10 years or so, but there's something about his design, the way how he looks. I think it's more than anything, because I'm not trying to bring down one of my favorite characters, but I think it's really more than his personality, more than the games themselves. There's just something about his design that just pops out.
He's just so cool looking.
Yeah, he's kind of like, in all honesty, just looking at him, he's kind of like the other Mickey Mouse or Mario. Even though Mario's done good and always been like a fun. There's something about Mario's design. Maybe it's like a Coca-Cola thing. You see it everywhere, so you trust it. I don't know, but Sonic though, I don't know if they really are. Because here's the thing with Sonic. I mean, I think the fact that he looks so cool is something that's been kind of keeping him around. They keep on putting him in stuff. It's now one of those things, he's almost kind of grandfathered his way into just the media. He's not, we remember this guy, right? Well, he's been kind of fucking up lately. He kind of owes me some money. He's a good guy. We have history with him. Just let him in. That's kind of what Sonic is now, because his game's been fucking up a lot lately. So yeah. I feel like I kind of see that. And, when it gets down to it, I can say, they're selling out. But Sonic's always been a corporate tool because that's what he belongs to. He belongs to a corporation. So, I don't know. I mean, I can see that. They got to do something with him fucking quick, though, because there's no game for the 25th anniversary. And
they're like, we got our 25th anniversary game coming out next year.
Yeah, and, there's, they had this big, it was at, there was some big convention somewhere. There's some big Sonic convention. And then it was, I don't remember which one it was. It was, I want to say... what was it? It was one of the big... There was a big Sonic panel, of all things, at South by Southwest.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't watch the whole thing. I just looked at some of the highlights. Just okay, they're going to mention something. And it was Yuji Naka, the programmer, the guy that currently voices Sonic, the guy that currently voices Robotnik, and then someone in marketing at Sega, maybe someone else. And... They're up there just answering questions and all that. And all they were going to say was, okay, so here's what we got. We're going to have 25th anniversary, merchandise coming out. Woo for that, right? Woo, cool. You can already get all that shit basically at Spencer's Gifts. Yay. And then they kind of say, also, We got a trailer come. We got a trailer for you. What's this trailer for? Big the Cat 3 for the iPhone. You know.
I didn't know there was Big the Cat 1 and 2. There was.
There's a fishing game, which is like, really? I thought that was a joke. Are you fucking serious? I wasn't even mad. I was more flabbergasted. And then they have like, okay, by the way, like, you know, Crush 40 is going to do a big concert over at like one of the Hard Rock cafes sometime soon. So yay. And then we're going to say more shit at this one convention. And they just sell more shit at the convention. They weren't even talking about a game coming out. They were just talking about more like merchandise shit than a game. So
yeah, it's kind of weird how that is with Sonic and whatnot. It's like they had this thing, like I think I sent you the link, and it was like one of those ones, even though I owned like pretty much 95% of it, was just, you look at the deal, they had one of those Humble Bundles, and you see them from time to time, and it's like a donational thing for some kind of charity, and a game company says, well, here's all our fucking games, you know, you make it the thing, so you know, you pay like $1 or whatever, and you get like 6 Sonic games. You get like the first one, you get like Sonic Adventure, I can't remember, you got maybe Sonic Episode 1 for Sonic 4, and a couple other ones too. It's like, oh, that's pretty fucking good for $1. And then you get like $5, and it's like they add in like Sonic Adventure 2 and like Sonic 3. Maybe they didn't have Sonic 3, but Sonic 2 and Sonic Spinball or something like that. But then by like 15, you spend like $15 and you can donate more. You get like practically like 30 fucking Sonic games. And it's just like, you look at that, it's like, I practically own all the Sonic games, and I don't know how many times I've technically really bought like the original Sonic games, like 1, 2, 3, and Sonic and Knuckles over again. But I would almost buy that just because it was like, it's such a fucking good deal. Like, look, you get all those things.
I was gonna say, for a while I thought maybe like a bot hacked into your phone, because the last 3 texts you sent me were like, oh, here, check out this new comic coming out. Check out the Humble Bumble. And then there's just like, oh, by the way, when you can, check out this TV service. Only $30 a month. You get movies and cinema. You know? I was like, like Spencer can take it over.
I was just sending you ads that I kept finding that were cool. But it's like, you look at that, it's like, you could fucking, I mean, like, it had even like all the new ones too. I think it had like Sonic, you know, Generations was on there, and Sonic like Lost World. I mean, like, you had like more stuff than you could like shake a fucking stick at. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But yeah, I know, I kept finding like cool shit that was like, here's my fucking, use my Amazon link and buy this.
No, but like, yeah, but I could actually see, going back to the whole Sega thing, I could see them trying to do something like that with Sonic. I mean, he doesn't have as much years as Mickey Mouse, but I mean, I don't know, they have to do something with him soon, because that movie keeps getting delayed, and there's no game coming out that I can see. So they gotta do something. He's like, you know, he's like Freddy Krueger. He loses his powers, so they start forgetting him. So
I know, yeah, and it's like, that's really, I think that is true. Like, what's hold on to Sonic is the fact that he's just so badass. Like, you can have a poster of Sonic, you can have a T-shirt of Sonic, no matter what, it always looks fucking awesome. And then his buddies look cool too. Tails looks cool, Knuckles looks cool, not Big the Cat.
Shadow looks cool.
Shadow looks cool. Metal Sonic looks cool. Even Amy, for a character, looks cool. You know what I mean? Like, they all have like a neat look to them, and I think that's what's always made Sonic kind of stand out, no matter what. But I don't know if they could really, even though I know this game didn't do nearly as well because I think people just kind of forgot about it, but if they could do what they did with Sonic 4 Episode 2, that to me was like the best Sonic game I played in like really since probably Sonic and Knuckles. That's how good that game fucking was. I'll even say it up next to even Sonic Adventure. If they could just do that and do it in a full-on game that had 12 fucking levels and everything like that, and played identical to that, and maybe throw Knuckles and Metal Sonic and all like your favorites in there, that would be fucking badass. Throw a couple stories and so on. Get the people that made that Freedom Planet game, get them to make the fucking Sonic game. Because they're already working on a Sonic fan game at first anyways. Let them go in there, put little fucking cutscenes and shit, because they had that dialed in so it felt like you were watching like a 90s, you know, kind of Saturday morning anime / cartoon or whatnot. That's the thing. I think that's the next thing that these big companies need to do for video games, though, is just literally hire those independent guys and don't do like what they did, like what Fox did like in the late 60s and 70s with movies, where they were just getting people and they'd be like, you got a fucking idea? Have some money. You make it however you want. And that's how you get fucking badass shit like Easy Rider and Star Wars and all those other really badass movies that nobody said like, well, maybe they shouldn't have lightsabers, but maybe they should have, you know, nobody's in their fucking
Give them dildos.
Yeah, give them dildos. Kids love dildos. And, no, it's just like, and I think that's the thing what they need to do is like, okay, take somebody, like, I'm going to say the Freedom Planet people, get those guys and just say, hey, You make Sonic the Hedgehog 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're fucking making.
Yeah.
You fucking make it. You get in there and you fucking make it. They start chucking PCs at him. Fucking start working on it now.
Start beating with the keyboard. Do it faster. You just give me the job. Give me a minute. All right. You stop getting beaten when the game is made.
Yeah, it's just like, and
that's how Sega apparently treats their employees, from what I've heard. But yeah.
And I think that's just the way to go. Is just do that, and you could get so many sweet, video games by having people that are so fucking into video games at the moment. I think that's the downfall. Is like anything, people's mostly interest sometimes wanes over time. It's kind of like a teacher. I always feel like, you ever notice how like a teacher, when in their first 5 years of teaching, they're like the greatest teacher ever. They're trying to do everything. They want kids to fucking have dreams. But by year 10, they're so fucking burnt out that they could give a flying fuck about any of those kids. And I think that's the same thing with any kind of things. People just get burnt out over time. Unless you're like a Stan Lee or something where you can like make the magic happen for, 50 plus years. It just generally doesn't work that way.
I feel like Stan Lee, and all due respect to Stan Lee, because a lot of my favorite creations wouldn't be here if it weren't for Stan Lee. But I feel like he's more by this point kind of like
the Sonic the Hedgehog of Marvel.
No, like the king and queen of England, kind of more there as a figurehead. Probably pops in because he made a lot of these characters, and like he probably still gets a cut. Like, Stan, what would you do? Well, I think whatever you do is fantastic. Because whenever anybody says anything, just like, yeah, Captain America is now a Nazi. Oh, well, that's different than what I would have done, so let's see what they got, true believers. He just seems
he's so positive. He's just there, like he's like the motivation. He really is the fucking mascot. That is literally like no different than like a guy running around in a big suit like on the football team, like getting the crowd pumped up. But instead it's Stan Lee running around, fucking playing cameos in Marvel movies.
They might ask him. I feel like what they do is they ask him, Stan, what would you do? Thank you. That's great. Positive as ever. Okay, go to a signing. I feel like that's kind of what they do with Stan Lee now, and like go tell motivational speeches. I'm not trying to bring him down because we had a chance to meet. We almost had a chance to meet Stan Lee, and then he got sick. So and I remember we were just so crushed, like no, So here I am. Just like,
okay, let's go see Bruce Campbell. That'll hopefully make up for it, which he was badass too, but still.
But no, I think he's more of like just kind of like a mascot or for Marvel by this point, because I don't think he's written a book in a long time, and I think he's more of just like he just helps. He's just so like amped up, and he just tries to. He's more of like a motivational speaker than anything else for Marvel. But what I was going to say real quick, regarding back to Sonic, just for a second, I think that like one other thing about Sonic that's kind of like really bringing it down to a certain extent is certain members of the fan bases, because you got some people that are hardcore fans of Sonic that are almost like big time furries, like they'll have like, here's my Sonic OC, like that kind of shit, like I didn't know that was a big thing until about 2 or 3 years ago. So when I tell people like, oh, I like Sonic the Hedgehog a lot, like, oh, but I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them,
Yeah, I guess probably anything that's like it's like that's why it's like you always gotta be afraid of like people that are like really obsessed with My Little Pony, because it's kind of that similar thing. Like they're good, like, yeah, well, I got ponies in my backyard if you want to come see them. I got them all dressed up too.
I call this one a Rainbow Dash. He's like just stroking his face against the pony.
This poor like pony. It's like over in the corner. It's got like
shaking.
Fucking, like, yeah. It's like painted with like stars on it, and it's like
it's branded. It's like
multicolor.
It's like with like a rainbow like carved into its skin, just all like all serial killer like,
just all fucking creepy and shit. So it's like, yeah, there is always that thing. I don't know. I mean, I guess it goes. I guess it goes with liking anything that's kind of perceived as a child's.
But a lot of Sonic fans are just that. I don't know. It's weird because you don't hear that so much with Mario fans. Mario fans just kind of like, oh, it's Mario. Everybody likes Mario. And he's like, Sonic fans like, oh, you're not one of. Really? Like, no, it's not what you think. It's not what you, I like the design of the character, and I like the game. Fuck it. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. But, well, that's probably a good place to wrap it all up and
actually,
have all that kind of.
Should we?
Oh, fuck! I forgot about that. That was a big. No, yeah, we gotta talk about that because that was a big kind of fun comic book that came out, and of course we haven't said Batman yet. I think on the show, so gotta get our fucking daily fucking dose of Batman in here. But Paul Dini had this new book come out, and you might have heard about it on Fat Man on Batman. He was on there 2 months ago or something like that, saying that he was going to have this one coming out where it's sort of like an autobiographical book that has Batman characters in it. So it's a story of Paul Dini, and then throughout it, it's kind of going through his life at certain events, and then one big major one. And then Batman, and the Joker, and other characters, and even other cartoon stuff also appears in it as well, too. It's not just that, but... So it is a Batman book, but it's also like this autobiographical story, which is really fucking a cool way of, reading something. And to me, I felt like... I don't think I've ever read anything in a comic book that was like that before. That to me was brand new. I'm not saying somebody else has probably done something similar like that before, but that storytelling style was really cool and real fresh, and plus the artwork was awesome. I liked how it changed throughout it. You'd get really detailed stuff. When it was in the real world, in a sense, when it was Paul Dini, it looked like almost kind of like realistic looking as far as artwork goes. But then sometimes it would have like a cartoony look. Sometimes when he was going back in time, it could even have a sketchy look and so on. And it was just a neat way to go about it. And I remember there's one image in there. I know this is kind of getting deep into it, but I remember like when I saw this, I had to fucking take a screenshot and send it to you because it was one of those. This even ties almost into like the Sonic, even though it's Nintendo, but. There's a picture where Batman's fucking holding up a Super Nintendo controller and he's like talking to like Paul Dini, like talking to the camera, and he says, "You're wasting your time with this trash and filth. It is ruining your mind," or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was that kind of thing where it's like there's literally two things of my entire like life. I'm not even gonna say childhood life. It's Batman and Nintendo. Two things I probably love more than anything else as far as like almost like entertainment goes, and it's almost like a conflicting thing. Now obviously in the context of the story it makes sense because Paul Dini's at this point where he's like, fuck life, give me alcohol, fuck you, fuck this, but oh yeah, here it says, "You're wasting your time with this trash. You've accomplished nothing." It's just like
holding up
he's holding up a Super Nintendo controller, not just any controller, not even like a fake random ass like mishmash controller. It is a Super Nintendo controller, and it's almost like you see that panel, and you almost take a trip in time where you're just like your life flashes before you, almost like in Beavis and Butthead Do America. When it shows that scene where it shows their life flashing before them when they're out in the fucking desert about to die and they're taking the peyote and everything. And it just shows them throughout life, and they're on the couch in front of the TV the whole time. When I saw that movie, it was that moment where you're like, "Oh fuck, that was my life. Wait a second, that's not good. That can't be good to relate to Beavis and Butthead. Oh god, that would literally be me fucking holding like a Sega controller, or holding an Atari controller, holding a Sega controller, holding a Nintendo controller, holding a. You could literally have done that, and it would have went through my entire existence. And seeing that there was like, oh fuck." Well, coming back to Batman in this Paul Dini one, he's holding up the Super Nintendo. It's like, "You've accomplished nothing." You almost got to go, "Ah, Batman, what have I done with my life? Oh, God, why? Why?" Fucking shouting out the top of your lungs like, oh, wait a second, though. But video games are sort of what led me into doing all my creative things. I mean, I think that without video games, I would have never got to making movies and would have never got to making animation. It does have a purpose and stuff, but like that one panel itself.
You had an existential crisis over this one panel.
I know.
This was Batman saying it.
Out of context of the story, because I'm not sitting around fucking drinking going, fuck life, I got nothing left, where's my Skyrim? It's like, no, but still. That one panel, though, it really stood out. I mean, you could almost have that as a poster in your wall, and that might... Some people might go, does that seem like that's not motivational? I'm like, no, it sort of is in a weird fucking strange way, you know?
So basically, the short and simple of the story is it's autobiographical. Paul Dini kind of tells about how he got to where he was in his life, and he's almost telling it like he's pitching an episode of a cartoon. You don't see who he's talking to, but it's like, he's
talking to you, the audience.
Yeah, but there's somebody else there that kind of comments once in a while, but we don't see who it is. And he's just sticking up like these pages of these animatics explaining, as if he's pitching an episode for Batman the Animated Series or any animated show. And he's talking about his life, and he's talking about basically he reached this point where going to LA, he's working on Batman, he's always been a fan of comics, so this is a dream come true, working on like a little bit of Tiny Toons here and there, but primarily...
And it even goes back in time first, like him as a kid, kind of like, when I was a kid, I used to just watch comics or watch, cartoons all day long. I did this. My parents might have thought I was kind of weird, but they still support me. Like, it has even like a life, like, traveling, too.
Yeah, and it kind of gets to how he is now. He says, like, basically he's at this point where he's dating women just because they're good looking. They're not really, there's not much to them. They're kind of like...
And he's not really dating him. It's more like just friends, where it's like, he really is just like this lady's like friend that he thinks they're dating, but they're really not. She's just using him because he knows Steven Spielberg, sort of.
And then also just kind of stuff at the office, which I guess one of my favorite things about this is I know this has to be more because some people say, oh, it's probably, I mean, it's probably a combination of things mixed together to make it a smooth, coherent story. But it's the cool thing about it is reading a comic where Paul Dini, Alan Burnett, and Bruce Timm are the characters. I never thought I'd see that, and they're talking about making Batman Mask of the Phantasm for a couple of pages. That's one of those things. It's just kind of like, huh, because you just never thought, because like that, and they're even taking exact lines. I mean, it makes sense. It's from one of the Batman animated series writers. They're taking exact lines and exact moments out of those books and referencing them in this, or those episodes, referencing them here. So it's
it's a biopic, but in a comic book form, which biopic's one of my favorite types of movies. Mm-hmm. And I will say, I guess it's one of those ones. Maybe I've just never seen it in a comic book form before, and that, to me, made it really badass.
And then, so basically, he's just kind of at this point where he, in some way, is kind of content because he has enough money to maintain sustain himself. He buys video games, figurines for his house, all that, and just comics, and he's fine with that. He's a little kind of lonely, but that's about it. And then one day when he's kind of going off what he thought was a date, he gets jumped and beaten almost to death by a bunch of by two thugs. And he kind of gets up and stumbles around, and they almost hit him with the car as he's stumbling back home, and he's just a fucking mess. Just his face is just all shattered the side of, and
but he doesn't even know this at first. He's just beat the fuck. So he goes home, and it's just afterwards of almost pretty much they were going to murder him. They stole his wallet. They were going to shoot him, all kinds of stuff like that. And then they just happened to leave. And then he finally gets home, and then he's just kind of at that fuck life part. Give me some fucking alcohol. I'm going to sit in this bath. All these things that I know is not good for an injury, but I'm going to do it anyways.
And then he kind of has, then what happens is he has trouble motivating himself to do anything, because what happens is he's like, all right, I'm writing this character that's there to save people, that's there to give them hope. Well, there is no fucking hope. That doesn't happen. The cops didn't help me out. The cops are like, yeah, whatever, not a big deal. And,
just like any other cop issue that I've seen in life.
And he's just sitting there, basically. He's supposed to be working on Batman Mask of the Phantasm, but he's kind of chugging it, and he's not really doing a whole lot. He comes into work once in a while, just with sunglasses, fedora, trying to hide his face and all that. And eventually, what ends up happening is Batman is kind of the voice in his head saying, "Suck it up, get back up, and go to work." Then what he has is all the villains on the other side telling him, Joker, just basically telling him everything you want to hear. Like, no, man, you had a bad day. You got knocked the fuck out. Here, play some video games, drink some scotch, read some comics. And then he has, what's cool is each villain represents a certain problem he has in his life. Joker is just basically the overall procrastination. Two-Face is the undecisiveness of what to do.
And the fact that he's kind of his face is sort of deformed, so that's where else the relation comes from that.
As well as that, yeah. Poison Ivy is just trouble with women. Penguin, booze, ultimately. Just have some more booze. Have some more booze.
Yeah, come down to the bar. Drink yourself silly,
Scarecrow is, hey, you got a fear of needles. Don't go to the doctor. Also, don't go outside. It's scary out there. So, then people, he sees, and this is a short, quick one. He sees people, and just they're I don't know who's real, I don't know who's not, so they all look like Clayface to me. And these are all just internal monologues. So it's basically Batman, one side of his brain, telling him what he should do, everybody else telling him, no, stay home.
And plus, Batman's there, and he's kind of and he's at the point, he's like, well, fuck you, Batman. You didn't come to save me here, which is, you didn't come to do this. You're not real. These things don't happen. Nobody is here to save us. We just have to kind of fucking deal with these problems. And the whole time, Batman's just there. He's like, yeah, well, shit happens. You know what I mean? Sometimes I get knocked the fuck out, and I got to get back up and, still can carry on. I don't always survive everything. You know what I mean? Or, well, he does survive everything. But I don't know, just because you get knocked down, you got to pick yourself back up and keep going, This is just, a moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, but I don't have that years of training. I don't have all this stuff that you do, and so on. Because he's even telling me, he's like, well, yeah, you can become stronger. You can work out. You can get better. You can, believe in yourself more. And then even Alfred's there to kind of comfort him, and even shows him kind of putting a sweatshirt on and almost like that, or not a sweatshirt, but a blanket over him there as Batman's talking to him.
Yeah, so it's a really, I think even if you just know the bare bones of Batman, just the bare bones, you could probably enjoy this. But if you actually love Batman, especially the animated series, this is like almost like, like porn almost,
Because this is definitely a book. I feel like you have to one like Batman and other also should like you almost should like be in the Batman, have a great appreciation for the Batman the Animated Series history, as well as sort of be in kind of an artsy kind of job. Because I think if you were none of the above, I mean, you probably wouldn't be reading this book in the first place, but I could see where somebody could read this and go, what a fucking pussy, and just be like, this guy's a fucking loser. But I mean, that guy's probably not reading a comic book, but I could see where there would be that kind of like, because it does. Cause I will say the book, if anything, it does come across for like a little bit as like, "Woe is me," but I think it works as a good storytelling still. But it does have a little bit of that there. So if you weren't into all this other stuff, that "woe is me" might overrule it, and you just go, "Man, this guy is just bitching to the crowd."
Well, I think it's not like he doesn't play it off like, oh, he does play it off like he is have a problem. It's not strictly I am the only one at fault. It is played off like he is in some ways at fault just for the lifestyle he was living in that. It is showing the problems with that. But it's one of those things where, what was I going to say regarding that? There's an example I was going to make. Let me flip through this thing real quick.
Well, because the other thing too is like, while you're looking for that, it's like I like how, and it's almost got sort of this like Woody Allen way of telling the story and everything like that, of how he's talking to the audience, he's talking back and forth between his characters, and you got real life people in there, you got that, but what were you gonna say?
The thing I was gonna say was, it turns out at the end, the people he's talking to at the beginning, we see the other side of the room, he's talking to all the villains, and what he does is it presents every single argument that people would come on the offense about, like, oh yeah, well, who cares? Like, because that's what Riddler is. Riddler's like, real Riddle is, who gives a shit what you have to say? People have worse things have happened to other people. Why should they care about this story? And then he says, well, yeah, worse things have happened. I understand that. But for me, this is the worst things that have happened to me. So, which made me believe there's something to take from this. And if it means something to me, it might mean something to someone else, hopefully. And there's this whole, he has, and then like Joker, I don't remember who it is. I think it's maybe it's Joker, maybe it's Two-Face, but it says something like, well, there are these, this will always be with you. What happens on the days it really sinks in and you really like affects you. It's just like, well, those days are going to happen regardless. Most I can do is just move on with it. So it kind of presents every single like criticism that could happen with this kind of story of like, oh, you're being a pussy, suck it up, or this story doesn't mean much. It kind of presents every criticism, but it has
giving an answer for it.
But gives a very poignant answer of why the story exists. Not saying fuck you, I'm right, but saying, hey, this is just how I feel. I hope you agree. And it's just very well written, and it's just kind of, it's really, I don't know, because I'm not going to lie. For a little bit before I read the story, I mean, I was working on some stuff, but I felt like I was in a little bit of a creative rut, and I was kind of like, yeah, fuck it. Which, not so much woe is me, but kind of like, what's the point? Fuck it. And then I kind of like read this, and it kind of gave me a little bit of a kick in the ass that, via Batman.
Via Batman, as usual. Batman's always there to save the day. But no, it's one of those books, if you are at any point an artistic type person, whether you're a writer, a drawer, animator, video maker, storyteller, pretty much storyteller of any type, this book is a fantastic, if anything, it's just a super motivational book, fantastic story, great artwork, and a super cool way of telling the whole story. Plus you get Batman, so, I mean, like...
Plus, I mean, I could see this part being true. Maybe it's just for the book, but I can see this being true. Paul Dini reveals an episode of Batman that never got made that he always wanted, and it kind of says everything that needs to be said. And basically, there's this episode he plans. It's kind of like, this is the ultimate moral of the story. Batman's fighting a bunch of his villains. He's explaining it. This is what happens. He's trying to pitch it to Alan Burnett, and he's like, I love it, but we can't do it. But you always have it in your head or whatever. And Batman, all his villains team up to stop him all at once. He's on the brink of death.
And he's like hanging from like a gargoyle on the side of a building now, because that's like the only way he could escape is like the grappling hook up, but he didn't have enough strength to climb any farther.
And then like Death, like from Neil Gaiman's Sandman, little girl Death pops up. She's like, you escaped from me way too many times. You're coming in with me now. Because Batman started to nod off, and he's in the dreamland. And that's where Sandman comes like, well, actually, technically, he's not dead. He's dreaming. And you're in my realm. He's my guest, so you can't take him. But look, you can kind of go either way, Batman. Which one do you want to go? You can either come with us and you're done. You can just, it's all pain, it all stops. Or you can keep going. Now it's going to hurt, but the hurt's going to pass. What do you want to do? And that's where he snaps out of it.
And he says, he's like, both options are noble. Both options are, that's the key thing. Whichever one you choose, there's nothing wrong with each one.
Mm-hmm. And then when that's actually, I forgot that part. That's very important lane. And then he snaps out of it, and Robin shows up with the Batjet. And then he kind of goes back and fights him at the end of the episode to win. And that's one of those things where it's just like, oh, shit, just... I can only imagine how, like, that would be every once in a while you go on YouTube and you're like, top 10 best Batman episodes of the animated series or whatever.
That would have been one of them.
That would have been, like, I don't know, number 1, but at least somewhere in the top 3.
You know what would be cool is this day, if Paul Dini could just go back and work on one of the DCU movies, like one of the in-between ones where, like, they can just do something random like that, that would be a sweet one. Like, have him actually, like, expand that story and fucking add that in and make it just an 80-minute long fucking picture to go in their 3-movie run. Like, why not?
Maybe, like, in 2 years or so, I can see this book possibly being one of their straight-to-DVD animated movies.
Yeah.
Not saying it will be, but I can see it being that.
It is that good, though. And it's just, I think just because it's so different, and then, you're getting a Batman book, you're getting, like, in a sense, an autobiographical story. And the artwork's fantastic. Everything about it's just really cool. I mean, I read that thing like in almost one sitting. It was like that good. I just couldn't wait to just finish it.
Same thing here.
Yeah. It was just so good, so riveting. And that's probably the first time in a while that I've had a book that I just sat down and was like, oh my God, this is fun. I just got to keep going. Because most time, you read an issue or two and then you can put it down for a moment. I'm not saying it's bad, but you know what I mean? You're just saying, okay, there we go. I'll take a break right now and come back. This thing is just almost like, I just want to keep going. I like it that much. And even the fact that I almost sort of even knew like the bare bones story already from hearing it on Fat Man on Batman, it's still that kind of thing where I always feel like someone can sort of tell you what goes on in a movie, and they still haven't really ruined it because you haven't seen it, And that's how this feels. So, because I knew he got beat up, I knew he came back, I knew he didn't die, I knew that like kind of like what was going on because he sort of explained it. But you read it, and there's still a different, complete story.
Yeah. It's so. If you, like you said earlier, if you're a creative person at all and you just like Batman slightly, read this book.
So yeah. So if you want to support the podcast as well with this, I'll put a little Amazon link, in the description of the show, and you can check this book out, won't cost you any extra, and you can support our show. What were you going to say, Ryan?
A small, small little kind of brag. There's a possibility, I'm not going to say it doesn't happen yet, and you never know. There's a possibility I actually might meet Paul Dini because...
is he doing a signing?
Kind of. There's basically the comic book store I go to, Comics Experience, comics spelled with an X, in the Visadero, Haight-Ashbury area, is basically they have this thing, minimum wage is getting raised up here to a ridiculous level, so it makes it hard for small businesses to get by. So they started doing this graphic novel club where you pay $25 a month, you get a book, a couple of, maybe like a free drawing of some kind, autographed by someone, and then one of the creators comes in. That was the thing I told about some months back, where
was it Neil Gaiman?
I gotta embarrass myself in front of Neil Gaiman, but it was over Skype. But Paul Dini apparently, I don't know, you never know, something might happen. But Paul Dini's apparently going to be at this place, and so hopefully I'll have a story to tell that doesn't involve me asking a stupid question to Paul Dini.
Well, perfect. Well, I'm going to say that's probably a good place to end everything at. Make sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, and more, and all that fun stuff. Until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorange.podcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.